When I started playing chess, my biggest problem is I didn't know what to do. I mean, look at the position. I could move this pawn, this pawn, this pawn. I could move the knights, and I just didn't know what to do. So I came up with some really bad ideas. I know. And oftentimes I got checkmated just like right out of the opening. I must have lost 4 times, at least 4 times, before I understood that my opponent were all going for the same checkmate. I would be black, and you guys, the scholar's mate. I must have lost 4 times before I finally got it. That's checkmate. Game's over. We have to start the new game. So very, very often I was a victim because my opponent would attack my pawn on f7 and it was inadequately defended, and I would end up losing badly. I needed an opening strategy. And more important than an opening strategy, what I really needed was to have a safe king. Because I figured if I could have a safe king, maybe it would take 20 moves for my opponent to beat me, maybe 30. And I thought the longer I could last, the better I would become, because I would get more and more experience. So what I was trying to do, whether I was black or whether I had white, is I wanted a safe king. So I didn't know that it had a name, by the way. All of the openings, reasonable openings, have a name. I called it the fortress variation. Okay, in the fortress variation, what I was trying to do was castle with my king as quickly as possible. And my opening move was knight f3, and almost always, against most reasonable replies, I would play g3, bishop g2, and castles. So this is what I call building a fortress. And boy, once I learned that opening, my opponents had a real hard time beating me. They beat me, but I lasted really a long time with this position. The reason why this position is such a good one is because the king is really secure. It's behind this nice pawn shield. The bishop is extra protection standing in front of the king. Also, this bishop is it's an ambush on the diagonal. The knight protects the square, and the weakest pawn in my position, the f2 pawn, is protected by the rook. So I like the fortress position. And what I tried to do when I was black was do the very same thing. Except with black, I discovered that my attempts to make the fortress variation immediately weren't so good. If I tried to play my fortress, they would just attack my knight right away, and I have to move. I didn't know that this was a defense called the Alekhine's defense. I didn't have any chess books or any knowledge of the openings. I just knew that when the pawn came here to e5, attacking my knight would have to move. So I started to play the fortress variation as black by first moving my pawn up. So that way I protect the square e5. When they advanced, I would bring my knight out, attacking their pawn. They usually defended it. And then no matter what white did, I was really happy because I would get to play bishop here and castles next. And then I got my fortress. Then I would lose. But it's okay. I didn't lose in 4 moves. And I would lose in 10 and 20 and 30 moves. One time I got a draw. I thought, yes, draw. And then I got really excited after getting a draw that I wanted to play more and more. Eventually I discovered competitive chess. How many of you play in tournaments? Have you played in tournaments? That's really good. I started late. I started as a 12-year-old. Oh, you guys are so much younger than me. So you guys know a lot more about chess at your age than I did. In other words, I'm an international grandmaster. I was in the world's top 10. I won the US championship 4 times. I played for 10 Olympic teams. I beat Garry Kasparov and Anatoly Karpov, world champions. And you guys are better chess players at your age than I was. Because you know chess. I didn't. Okay? So, what I like to do with this class, because openings are so tough, openings are so difficult, that I just want to go over again some openings. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play against you. The class is going to play white. I'm going to play black. And I'm going to explain the moves that I'm making. And you guys, because I'll call on you, will have to explain why you chose the move you chose. Even if you make a wrong move, that's okay. I just want to hear the explanation. Arjun, you want to start us off with white? D4. D4. Okay. D2, D4 to control the center. Absolutely. This is a very good opening move, probably as popular today as E4. D2, D. Young man, yes. That was a different move than what you chose. The reason I like to play D2, D4 is just because of what Aryan said. I like attacking these center squares. I like opening up my queen, and I like opening up my bishop. Okay, I kind of told you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to play knight f6. Young man, what would you do?
C4.
See, and why would you play c4? Also controlling the center. Okay, so I'm going to get my fortress position, and I'm going to be very happy. Young man, what would you do? E2, E3. So what this young man said is that when he plays with the queen pawn opening, he likes to play the move E2, E3. Okay, we're going to have you play E2, E3, but I do want to point out one basic thing. When we have played the move D4, we opened up the possibility to develop our bishop. The bishop on C1, which is on the white team, is kind of crying. It's kind of saying, hey, coach, get me into the game. Get me into the game. And when you play the move E2, E3, this bishop is saying, oh, man, you blocked my view. Okay, I'm going to play bishop G7. Young man, what would you do? Excellent. And why would you do that? To develop a piece. And also maybe to control some squares, D5 and E4. Now, castles. Now, at this moment, I'll just pause for a second to tell you what I'm thinking. When I play chess, whether it be at the grandmaster level or the amateur level or the expert master level, I only need to do 3 things in the opening. The first one I'm trying for is to get a safe king, to have my fair share of the center, and to have good squares for my pieces. At the moment, I develop my first goal. Young man. Yes, that's what I've set up. I called it the fortress, but in truth, today, this is called the King's Indian Defense. That's exactly what it's called. Knight G1 to E2. Okay, so why do you play knight E2? What's the idea? Okay, so you developed your knight to E2. Again, a same little criticism as before. This bishop is sort of like saying, hey, I'm blocked. Now, I'm kind of clever. I go, aha, you guys have kind of made a problem. This bishop is a little bit blocked Maybe you want to play g3 and bishop g2. So I'm going to beat you to the punch. I'm going to play b7, b6. Young man, what would you do? D4 to D5. Okay. So now, why did you play that move?
Because then you could like put another pawn in that little diagonal line.
Okay. So D4, D4, D5. This is advancing in the center. It cost you a move to advance in the center, and that's okay. But now this pawn messed me up. That really messed me up, that pawn move, because I wanted to put my bishop here, but now you blocked my diagonal. That's a rotten thing to do. But it did cost you a turn, and so I want to attack this pawn. I'm going to play e7, e6. Young man, what would you do?
Put my e3 pawn to e4.
Okay, so now you've protected this pawn. Pardon me. You protected this pawn on d5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pawn on d5. Arjan, well, c4 takes d5. Okay. Now, remember what I said earlier about my castles. One of the things I really liked about the castles is that I protected my pawn on f7. Right now, you guys aren't attacking my pawn on f7, and I'm thinking that your king is still in the center. I'm going to move my rook to e8, so I'm on the same file as your king. So my thinking is that maybe this rook will have some nice tricks against your king. I wouldn't move the rook too soon. I would hesitate to leave this pawn unprotected. Young lady, what would you do?
g3.
Okay, careful, careful. g3 is a good idea to bring the bishop to g2, but my rook on e8 and my knight on f6 are putting a lot of pressure on this pawn on e4. In fact, I simply want to take it. So you guys had better defend the pawn, because after g3, I will take your pawn. Okay, so we need a better move than g3. Young man.
F2 pawn, top F2, putting two defenders on it instead of one because you have two attackers.
Okay, I like that move, f2, f3. But do keep in mind that this pawn on f3 protects the pawn on e4. Very, very good. Very, very good. One of the drawbacks of this move, f3, is it does expose your king just a little bit to a potential queen check on h4. Just a little drawback. It's okay. Everything is okay. Let me play c6. Remember, in the opening, a key principle is to control the center. So I see that this pawn on d5 is a very powerful pawn. That scares me. So I want to knock this pawn out. Arjan, what? d6. Okay. So d5, d6. Your pawn is really cramping me. Notice that this knight has a real problem. Can't go to c6, can't go to d7. I've got to make room for my knight. So I'll play c5. With my move c5, notice that I'm controlling d4 as well as b4. Young man. Okay, bishop to g5. That pins my knight to my queen. I don't like that, by the way. That's a pretty good move. And I have to be a little bit careful that the pawn can come here one day and I'll end up losing a piece. I don't like that pin. I like that move, bishop g5, by the way. I'm going to attack your... Maybe I'm not. I'll attack your bishop with my pawn. h7, h6. Come on. Come on, come on. Young man.
Can you move your head a little bit so I can see the pieces?
Sure.
Let's see. So you're attacking the bishop.
Correct. So you got a choice. You can go back or you can trade. Your choice.
I'm going to move bishop to h4.
Bishop to h4. Very good. So you step back away from h takes g5. Okay. So now I got to bring my guys into play. I'll play knight to c6. Knight to c6. Someone else? Young man, yes. What would you do? White wants to move this pawn out so that he can bring his bishop here. But is the pawn g3 a good move?
No.
Because I get to g5, trap the bishop. So let's move the pawn out 2 squares so that you can bring your bishop into play in a moment.
But then that somewhat blocks the other bishop. If you move.
It kind of blocks the other. I'm not sure what it does. But this is okay. This is a good move. That's a reasonable move. Now, notice that I still need to get my guys off the back rank. I could put my bishop here, but it kind of doesn't have as much of diagonal. This is an open diagonal. I'm going to play bishop a6. Arjun, what would you do? Bishop to h3. Okay. So now you guys are preparing to castle. Ooh, I don't like castling. I was hoping to grab your king in the center. Okay. Now this is going to be cool. I'll take your pawn. Ooh. Think about this one. Think about this one, young man. What would you do? Take the queen. That's what I wanted to hear.
I did not see that.
Oh.
Did that on purpose or an accident?
You did that on
I don't know. Did I purposely? Usually grandmasters don't just blunder their queen. Now, I'll admit, I made 1 or 2 mistakes before I became a grandmaster. But I did what was called a speculative sacrifice. I just lost my queen for a pawn at the moment, but I'm going to take your knight. Okay? So, Aryan, what would you do? Take back with the pawn. Very good. Now, at this moment, I'm a queen behind. I'm a queen behind. But check out what dirty tricks I have in mind. I can take this pawn with check. Your king, you can't take my bishop because it's in a pin. So I could take this pawn with check and then take that rook. I could take this knight. Ooh, I could take this knight. Right. I take this knight. The queen could take my bishop. My rook is here. Oh my, what is going on? So what should I do? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this knight with my bishop. So now at the moment, I've got a knight for a queen. You guys are winning. You're ahead. But it's pretty wild. Who wants this one? Young man.
I don't know my rook on A1, so B1.
Yes, but be careful. Your queen is being attacked. Aryan.
C1.
Queen to C1. Okay. So with queen to c1, you're protecting
Ooh, bishop
this.
takes.
Ooh, and that would be checked too, right? Oh my goodness.
Forward attack.
With a discovered attack against the king. Oh my. Another move I could make too is I could take this. Oh, I have so many difficult decisions. I'm not sure. I'll tell you what, I'm a greedy. I'll take this pawn and I'll make a check to your king. Arya, which one? King F2. And now I'm going to take this rook. I was very happy. What? What could I do? Come and show me. Tell me what you're going to do. What are you going to do? Whoa, you knocked my bishop out. That's pretty good. Okay, very good. So let's say I knock your bishop out. So that was a good trade. That was Arjun. That was a good trade. Rook E1. Okay. And let's say I knock this pawn out. So I get a pawn. Young man.
Right now I was thinking of just never mind, but I was like take that knight, but then I saw the pawn. So
Oh, you mean, yeah, I like that. I like that. Young lady, what would you do?
Rook E2.
Rook to E2. Why would you play Rook E2, by the way?
Because I don't want to lose the rook by the piece that's lower.
Okay, yes. You don't want to lose the rook to the bishop. You could have traded. That might have been good too. I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm going to play. By the way, what's the material standings? Just a second. Before you answer, count them up. What's the material standings? Who's ahead and who's behind? Remember, I sacrificed, maybe blundered my queen. I'm not sure. Arjun, who's ahead? I'm ahead 3 points?
Yeah.
Wow, really? Just a second, let me congratulate myself. Hold on. Oh, that felt good. Is it true? Okay, we both have a bishop, so that neutralizes. We both have rooks, so that neutralizes. You have 3 pawns. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, no, you have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 7, so I'm ahead 3 pawns. I have a rook more and a knight more, but you have a queen. So I have a rook 5.
2 points. I have 2 points.
Excellent. That's what I wanted. Yes, young man.
Instead of moving the rook to E2, I thought that you could play rook takes on E8, and then rook takes, and then pawn to E5, and then if the pawn takes, you take on D. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah? Would you?
Like sacrificing a pawn, and then so the bishop could capture. Once you capture it, we could capture the rook.
Pretty good, right? Okay. So rook e2 was a good move to get out of this capture, but I think the class, you preferred this, yeah?
Yeah.
And let's see what would have happened in this case. Okay, so now things are really wild. It's a crazy game. I'm not sure. I like your idea, though. If you guys get to play bishop takes, then my rook and my knight would be toast. Okay, I'm going to give you guys a check. Okay. Young man, what would you do? You're in check. The king comes back to f1. That's a pretty good move. I like that move. Now, yes, I'm afraid of bishop to d7.
We're going to play bishop c3, so then you can play rook to e4.
You think bishop to c3 to play rook here? That's pretty good. I was actually going to move my knight. The reason I moved my knight here is because you guys have me scared. I'm really, really frightened that you're going to take this pawn, young man.
Queen
So this is a dilemma. You have two good moves, and you'll want to make them both. But you can only choose one. So the choice, first of all, is to take a pawn. That's pretty good. The second is your queen's not doing a lot here. Maybe you want to move her down there. So I could take a poll of the class. How many want to move their queen? How many want to take a pawn? Okay. So I think the class won this one. The class really wanted to grab this pawn. Ooh, my. Okay. Now I have to think of a good move, because that's tough when you guys grab my pawns like that. Okay, what could I do? One thing I could do is to try to get this pawn going up the board. I'm not so sure about that, actually. Another thing I could do is maybe come over here and grab that pawn. I could go bishop c3. My choices are pretty limited. It's tough. It's tough. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring my knight here.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
You do? Okay, now you guys like my position. Okay. Aryan, what would you do? Sorry?
My idea doesn't work. I'm so thinking.
Okay. Young man? King to g2. Okay, so what that does is it kind of escapes my clutches.
That's what I was.
Well, rook e1. So the point was that I could check and skewer your queen. I could take your queen. But the problem is that the king is in the way of the queen, right? So now I trapped your queen. Ooh. The purpose of this class is to emphasize to yourself, we just were having a conversation. You made moves, I made moves. But I was trying to explain to you my way of thinking, what I thought about a particular move, why I thought the move e3 in the opening was wrong, or why I found the move knight e2 a little suspicious. So that's what grandmasters do. That's what all strong players do, is they verbalize their thought process. If I go here, he takes me there. But who's ahead? Young man, yes.
You're ahead. A bishop and a knight.
Yeah.
And well, not a queen.
Well, I'm about to be a knight ahead, because I'm going to take your queen, or your queen's going to take my rook. So, and I have more pawns. So we're going to stop there. But I wanted to emphasize to you how important it is to express your thoughts. Okay, one of the things I did as a kid, and I was starting to play chess, is I would get a notebook and I would write down my thoughts about a game. So if I played in a tournament game, the game was recorded. And then I would write down my thoughts. Young man.
That's illegal.
After the game, I'm sorry. I meant to say I would go home and then analyze my thoughts.